Welcome back to Real-ationship Goals, a podcast all about exploring the realities and complexities of healthy relationships. Real-ationship Goals is a project of the Prevention and Education team at the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. If you or someone you know has experienced sexual violence or harassment and is seeking support services or needs more information, links to resources and our hotline number can be found in the description. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of their organizations or affiliates.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Real-ationship Goals. We are your hosts. My name is Monica. I use they, she pronouns.
My name is Ariana. I use she, her pronouns.
My name is Elsie. I also use she, her pronouns.
My name is Meryl, and I use she, her pronouns.
And today we have a media analysis episode for y'all. So we will be discussing Laufey's a song from her new album called Snow White. And we will be taking it verse by verse. And the first verse starts with Miss Meryl.
Okay, so the first verse is...
You have to sing it. I'm just kidding.
Can't help but notice all the ways in which I failed myself. I failed the world all the same. I don't think I'm pretty. It's not up for debate. A woman's best currency is her body, not her brain.
Okay. Thoughts?
I mean, I feel like it's accurate what she's saying, that oftentimes women's currency is our body, our youth, how pretty we are, how skinny we are, and our brain is often an accessory to that. A good brain is important and worthy if you have all those other things as well.
It definitely speaks to how, as women, sometimes we can internalize things to a certain depth by trying to keep up with certain body expectations and things like that, and not necessarily thinking of how important our knowledge is. So
I also think talking about like carrying things to a specific like level of depth is how she talks about she failed herself but also failed the world. And it kind of makes me sad to think that because of how she views herself, specifically just appearance, that somehow that equals failure. Not just on a personal level, but also on the level of like I failed the world all the same. I'm just like, that's a lot to carry, especially just based on looks.
Yeah.
Like no one's gonna die just because of how you look. You get what I'm saying?
Well, and do you have something to say?
No,
that's
not
totally
at this
fine.
point
I
in
just didn't
time.
want to speak a second time before.
No, you're good.
But I was also like, although like every woman is like subject to these like expectations, I also can't help but notice that she feels this way despite also meeting a lot of the world's expectations with regards to beauty standards. Like she says,
Don't jump.
I'm not gonna jump. I thought it was in this verse, but
I was like, you're touching on something we're gonna talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I know. And so just highlighting that even when we do meet all those expectations, we still feel like we're not enough and that we fail society at large.
Because I feel like it's not a fair thing to do to ourselves, because the world is just going to keep advancing and the world is just going to keep changing. So even when you do meet those expectations, it's always going to be something else.
Yeah.
And then when you feel like you have not met that expectation, you feel like a complete failure, which is very hard and can lead into a very heavy mindset.
Yeah, and I think like again, like going back to what I had said about like no one's gonna be impacted by how you look necessarily. Like the world is gonna keep spinning. I understand like the personal side of it. We are our biggest critics, but it's also subjective, kind of what Meryl was saying. Laufey, she's so beautiful.
Yeah.
She's so beautiful. And I don't know. I just feel like putting the world's perspective of you as like your responsibility is really, really hard. Because like that can be said about so many people. It makes me think of that saying of like, do whatever you're going to do because people are going to talk anyways. And that's why I'm like, the world is going to keep spinning no matter how you look. Whether you have a little bit of acne, whether you're starting to get your gray hairs in, whether you gained a little weight, like the world is going to keep spinning. Like if we're looking at like bird's eye point of view, but I know in like on a personal level, it feels like such a big thing. But I think when you step away from it, it is like the world is going to keep spinning. And sometimes I forgot where this was brought up recently, but also they'll be like, oh my gosh, like insert criticism here of self. And a person's gonna be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. Like it just kind of speaks to that. Okay, but since we were already ready to jump a little bit, we'll go ahead to the next verse, which is for Ariana.
Yes, yes. They try to tell me I'm wrong, but mirrors tell lies to me. My mind just plays along. The world is a sick place, at least for a girl. The people want beauty, skinny always wins, and I don't have enough of it. I'll never have enough of it.
Okay.
I just have a hard time having like listening to this song from her perspective because she's so thin.
Yeah.
And you know, I just like it really drives home that we can't win.
Oh yeah.
We cannot win. Like if you were to ask the vast majority of people, they would be like, "Oh yeah, she's thin. She doesn't need to lose weight." And yet she still carries that weight with her. It's just such a shame.
I have a loved one who has always been tiny. Um, and they have birthed two kids. Those kids are now grown, but this person is still like a size 2 or 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. And they're like, oh my gosh, like I can't win. Like I can't lose this weight. And I'm like, damn, oop. I'm like, dang, like you literally birthed two children.
Yeah.
Um, like bodies do incredible things, and not even just talking about pregnancy, but even talking about like injury recovery, which I guess you could talk about pregnancy in that, but the bodies do such amazing things, and it's like we'll never be satisfied. But I think this kind of goes back to another episode that we did of like looking back of like whose shame are we carrying, or
Yeah.
what is this rooted in? But I mean, she talks about how the world is a sick place, and I think it's as much love and hope that I want to have in the world, it's still such like an ugly place at times. Um, and we can be as hopeful and joyful and body positive, but at the end of the day, like these unrealistic beauty standards are just so baked into the culture, no matter where you go, and it's going to look different everywhere. Like I think we were talking about it during our trip, maybe, where we were talking about like how I think it's in Samoan culture, like the bigger you are, the more beautiful you are. And it's just like, dang, like you can't win. Like no matter where you go, like again, somebody's always going to have something to say. And it just really varies. Like it varies, not even in culture, but like when we start talking about like smaller dynamics, um, it might, the expectations might look different for your family, might even look different for your friends, things of that sort.
Anyone else? I was gonna say my favorite seems a little bit. My favorite line from this verse is the mirrors tell lies to me, and my mind just plays along because in college I had a mirror, and I don't know if it was the mirror or the angle of said mirror, but all of my roommates would come into my room to take pictures, but like before games or like before going out or whatever, to take mirror pictures because my mirror made everyone look so skinny, and like they were already very thin, but they wanted the extra thinness that my mirror had, so I thought that it was not funny but like interesting that she also was like, my mirror still lies to me, because my mirror also lied. It doesn't anymore. It's a little warped, but
And I feel like mirrors tell lies in the opposite way so often as well. Like I know I look in the mirror, I have really, really bad self-esteem. It's something that I've been working on, especially since becoming a mom and not wanting to pass that on because it was passed on to me. But I look in the mirror and I just can nitpick every single thing. And I genuinely, like, when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, I don't see someone that's beautiful. Like when I'm just living my life, I feel beautiful. I feel confident in myself and who I am. But as soon as a mirror comes by, all the lies that the mirror is telling me and my ideas of how I should look all come rushing back. And yeah, it's a hard thing. Can you
Yeah,
understand?
yeah. I was gonna say, I kind of zoned out for a little bit reading because mentally I was also jumping ahead, but I like that. Some people talk about how like the soul is the soul and then the body is just the vessel, and I'd be thinking about that like how you were saying like when I live my life, I'm like I feel like I have such a beautiful soul, um, but then like you kind of look in the mirror, and when I look. I don't necessarily, it's not my voice. Like I've done a lot of work to understand that the criticisms that I hear is not necessarily mine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'll literally, this is so wild, but like as soon as I like actually, because women's clothing, you could be a medium in this and then an extra large in this brand. But as soon as I found like almost like a safe brand, like a brand that I always go to, which for me is Old Navy, and I know my size, I was like, I almost felt confidence in myself. Like I was like, I feel pretty. But then I would like look at myself and I was like, I feel pretty, but I know people won't think that I'm pretty. And I'll literally be like that backhanded comment of like, you're pretty for a big girl.
Mm.
But I'm like, damn, I'm just pretty. Like I always make jokes like, "Ugh, I'm too pretty for this." And like people like maybe get thrown off. And even remember one time um, I was going to go swim with some friends for the first time, and I had wore a bathing suit, and it was very new to me because I've been a bigger girl since as soon as I got my tonsils taken out and I could eat. So literally like 4 or 5 years old, and I have never really worn a bathing suit or really swam with people. And I remember I was like, okay, you guys, like I have a lot of stretch marks. And they were like, it's okay, you're still beautiful. And my instant response was like, who said I wasn't? I'm just
Yeah.
letting y'all know I have a
And
lot of stretch marks.
still? What
Yeah.
does still mean?
Yeah. And I was just like, what? Like, I'm just letting y'all know I have stretch marks. Like, I never said they were ugly or anything. It's just is what it is. And that's what I mean. Like, certain things is just like not my voice.
Mhm.
And it's just so interesting thinking about how kind you were saying kind of what you were saying of like living your life and you feel beautiful, and that's literally me. I'm like I'm so beautiful in the inside, and like I also feel that in the outside, but when I look at myself it's other people's voices rather than truly mine. So
No, and I love that you brought up whenever you say I'm too pretty for this, because when we were in Houston, we were having a hard time finding parking, and you're like, I'm too pretty for this. And in my mind, I was like, dang, I wish I could crack a joke like that. Like I wish I could feel confident enough to crack a joke like that. And it's not a joke because, you know, gosh darn, you are too pretty to have to walk too far to get to your,
it'll literally
get to your spot.
like one time we were power washing we were power washing like a man, what is that thing called? You hook it onto the back of a truck and it's like for a parade. I don't know what that thing
A
is.
trailer?
A trailer, yes, we were power washing a trailer. And one, I was like, I'm too pretty for this. Like, because we were like in a whole like warehouse. And I was like, I'm too pretty for this, just making jokes. And at first, it was literally like a joke that I didn't necessarily believe. And then afterwards, I think I just said it so many times. And I was like, I'm too pretty for this. And then literally that day that I was power washing, I slipped and I fell. Because I was trying to run to change a song or something. And I was like, see, look, I'm too pretty for this. Like, I'm too pretty for this. And so I just always make jokes like that of like, I think I was like, I don't want to park on the rooftop. Like, my car's going to be hot. I'm too pretty for this. And literally just bringing it in the most random spots.
Mhm.
And it literally is like a hee hee ha ha thing. But at some point, like, it's like, I am too pretty for this. Like,
Exactly.
let's make this change. Um, that honestly might be for me.
But I think it puts an emphasis on how, as young girls and women, it takes practice.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of
Yeah.
practice, like even with finding like a safe clothing brand, or even understanding that like
Mhm.
the things that you say, like when you're standing in front of a mirror, like little physical elements like that can be a big emphasis on how someone internalizes something, or how those thoughts and those opinions come from a different space. They're not yours. But it literally takes a lot of self-practice to um, make sure that you're good inside, and making sure that you're understanding that you are a beautiful being in your own way. Like, that's one big understanding that I wish a lot of young girls and women would understand, is that everybody is beautiful and unique in their own way. And like, everybody has different characteristics and qualities about themselves, physically, emotionally, mentally, anything across the board. So I just think what you
No,
guys said put a lot of emphasis on how it takes a lot of self-practice.
and it just makes me really, really sad. And if I think about it too much, I will probably cry. But how it just kind of like, unfortunately, it's almost like part of the journey for young girls is socialization of like one day they will hear a comment, or they will hear somebody else talking about themselves a certain way, and they start questioning like how that like impacts them. Like my mom is very, very thin, and she'd be like, I'm so big. And I'm like, dang, girl, like I'm bigger than you. So you, and that's what I would always say. Like my thin friends would always be like, I'm so fat. And I'm like, if you think you're fat, I must be a whale to you. And they'd be like, no, 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 no. And at first I'd be like really hurt of like, you're talking so ugly about yourself. I could only imagine what you think of me. But then I realized that that's not my voice, and I'd be like, "So do you think I'm ugly?" And they'd be like, "No."
Yeah.
And and I'm like, "So why are you being so mean to yourself?" And there was something else, but I think I was gonna say the other part of it is there is a physical price to this. Like finding my clothes. Like now I feel like I have like a good understanding of what my wardrobe, like my comfy wardrobe is, but that took so much thrifting, which costs money. That took a lot of like, oh, I'm gonna buy this because it suits me, but then when I get home, I lose that feeling and I never wear it. And so for I'm like, that's money lost. I don't want to think of it like that, but I'm like, it's money lost. And then I go donate it because it'll help somebody else, maybe in that same journey. But now, and also like trying to find different things. Like anytime I love shopping online, I love shopping online, but that means I have to have a tape measure around all the time. But that's like kind of like the fashion price of it. But then a lot of my unlearning came from therapy that also has a price tag on it. And not just a price tag like financially, but that's a lot of time and a lot of energy. And it just makes me really, really sad that I think people just like especially when I was like, oh, I just this like an easy joke to crack, it's free, whatever. But it's not that easy. Like that is just one simple thing, like and I'm pretty sure that happened after having to pay um all that price of time, energy, and money. Okay, sorry. Yes, Elsie, I think you.
Okay. Not ready for my part yet.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
Just
seemed like you wanted to say
about
something.
Mean Girls. But okay, so going back to the mirror and talking about how like basically talking ugly about yourself is a learned behavior. Um, Mean Girls, whenever Katie is like hanging out with, oh my gosh, what's the plastics for the first time? And they're all over at Regina's house and they're all looking in the mirror and like Regina's like, my pores are so big. I hate this mole, like my teeth look weird. And then all three of them like collectively look at Katie, who had lived in
Africa?
Africa for her whole life. And she like looked at them and was like, I don't really know, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say about myself right now.
I remember
And
that.
so then she was like, my breath smells bad in the morning. And they were like, oh, and then went back to their like little life. And so that's my favorite part of the movie, is because like it really shows, yes, she like loses friendships and she loses all the things, but she also, I feel like, mostly is so busy trying to change herself to fit in, that she was so confident and sure of herself at the beginning of the movie And then in the middle, like she was trying so hard to be somebody else, that she became a mean girl. Um, Not to say that anybody trying to like change themselves is mean, but in the aspect of that. And so I just thought that that was cool because it really is learned behavior, and she
Yeah.
learned it within like 3 months. So,
Yeah.
granted, it's also a movie, so I don't know if that's accurate.
I'm sure it's happened.
But yeah. Okay, now the next part. Sometimes I see her, she looks like Snow White. She's everything I am, but my wrongs are turned to rights. Her body is smaller, skin is so fair. She's achieved everything I've dreamed of, and it's all I can think of.
Okay, I listened to the song yesterday because it's just naturally in my playlist. And maybe reaching, but I was wondering if like kind of how we were kind of comparing like our soul, or really it was me, maybe Meryl too, but like our souls versus our body. I was wondering if that was what she was trying to say here, or a different like interpretation of it. If she was
Like sometimes I see her being
herself,
herself.
yeah, because she's also talking about like the mirrors tell lies to me. So I'm like,
I
is she?
think you're onto something.
No, when I heard it yesterday and I saw it that way, I was like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Because we can also do that. Like we can also criticize ourselves of like maybe future versions we want to be, but also past versions of what we have been. And so I was thinking about that, but I I feel like there's obviously, as any piece of art, there can be different interpretations of it.
Yes, but I definitely think that's a really good one that I hadn't considered that. So I really appreciate
Yeah,
that.
because I mean, when I first listened to it, it came up on my Spotify playlist of like New Music Friday, and I was like,
playlist.
I love that playlist. And I was like, let me
Mhm.
give this a shot. And it was like the first song, and I originally heard it, I was like, oh, she's comparing herself to someone else, and it did like not sit with me all the way, like because she was like, she looks like Snow White, her skin is so fair, her body is smaller, and I was like, yeah, this isn't like something I can relate to. This isn't something I can relate to. I don't compare myself to smaller, fair-skinned, Snow White looking individuals. And so I was like, man, she's going through it. But then when I was thinking about like sometimes I see her, I mean, I was like, maybe it's her in the mirror. I don't know. I was just interpreting it in a different way, but when I first heard it, I was like, oh, she's talking about someone else.
I also feel, I don't know, maybe it's just me being hypercritical, but it seems like I don't particularly enjoy the way this song in some ways upholds
Yeah.
this beauty standard, because she's achieved everything I've dreamed of and it's all I can think of. And it's like I get that a lot of it is coming from like those societal expectations that we don't actually want. But when it's framed this way as like, oh, I can actually finally see myself for who I am, and I actually am seeing myself as the smaller, fairer individual, it's kind of like, what's your intention? Is it to move past that, or is it to try even harder to fit into
Yeah.
it? So I would love to hear her explanation of
Yeah.
this song.
No, yeah, and that's what I mean is like I think that's a good way of saying it. When I first heard it, I was like, I don't align with this, but also like, are you almost adding fuel to the fire of the
Yeah.
beauty? Because when I was like, her body is smaller, skin is so fair, I was like, oh, me no likey.
And she's also a thin Icelandic woman.
Yeah, she's
Like
also
European Icelandic. Like,
not, and I'm like, the whole song is about talking about not fitting people into boxes, but like, I mean, you look at her and factually she is a fair-skinned, thin person.
yeah.
If she sees herself that way, that's a whole different reality, and that's also still valid. But as like people that don't know her and we just see her as the celebrity that she is, that's why I was like, what are you trying to do with this?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but oh,
Oh, I was gonna say it didn't sit right with me the first time I listened to it either. Like I liked some parts of it, but other parts of it, I was like, is this just perpetuating this harm? And it might not be. That might not be what her intention is at all. I would imagine it's not her intention. But it's easy enough to read it that way.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think this goes back to what you were kind of saying earlier of someone could have everything based on what society thinks, whatever, right? And they still may not feel like enough.
Yeah.
So I feel like, again, this is part of art is how many different ways it can be interpreted.
Because honestly, the whole song could be written from first person perspective, but like if I don't know if she has a sister, but like it could be like this is what my sister thinks, and like the
Yeah.
whole song could be
I
like
think
about
she
her.
has a twin.
Oh,
I might be wrong. Let me make sure because I think they went on tour and her twin plays the flute, I think, or the violin.
cool.
Let me look as y'all keep discussing.
But so like it could not necessarily be about her too.
Yeah, that's very true.
She has an identical twin sister. So I think that even adds more to the lore. Ooh. So anyways,
That's
Ariana,
really all I have to say.
did you have anything? And then I was gonna say the last verse is the chorus, which Ariana read earlier. But yeah, that's the song. And I was thinking when I was looking at the lyrics, I was like, this song is really short, but it's because of how she sings it that sings a little bit longer. But despite everything, I really enjoy the song. And I think you can enjoy music even if it might possibly have a hint of, is this perpetuating harm, yada yada. And this is why media literacy
Ew.
is so important. And that's what we're here for. But thank y'all so much. We do have a relationship goal, and a recommendation per usual, and Meryl has our goal today.
So the goal is to just remember to love yourself even when you're in a relationship, to prioritize your feelings about yourself and you growing as a person and not just focusing on your partner or your friend and like the external factors of growth.
And then my recommendation is to make a playlist. I was sharing with them that I actually have different playlists. I have playlists based on the weather. So I have music that if the weather feels good and I want to ride in my car with the windows down, I have specific songs I want to listen to. If it's raining, I have specific songs I want to listen to. I also do things by mood. So like I think there's like one where if like I'm just really angry and maybe I just have really strong feelings, like I think Happier Than Ever by Billie Eilish is on there.
Nice.
And yeah, I'd be screaming. You get what I'm saying? And I also have some based on seasons that can sound different to different people, like seasons of their life and things of that sort. But I have two different playlists for the summer. There's like a Young and Turnt summer playlist that I have, which is a little bit more hype music. And then I have like a playlist called Keep It Cute Summer, which is still summer music, but it's like the way that I imagine it is like a really nice, fun outside hangout. And it's not necessarily, we're just chilling, if that makes sense. Not super, super hype, but it's still good summer music that you might want to sing to. But yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. I feel like we had great dialogue today. Wow, that was so beautiful. And I hope y'all enjoy it too. If you want to keep following us, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Advocacy Waco. And then if you want to have more prevention specific content, you can follow us at ACCVC_prevention on Instagram. But thank y'all so much. Y'all have a good one. Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Real-ationship Goals. This episode was produced by the Prevention and Education Department of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. Interested in more content from P&E or the Advocacy Center? You can follow us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention or on Instagram and Facebook at Advocacy Waco. Be sure to like this episode and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Bye.